thinking about what to write is a bad way to start songwriting. That's the shower thought that I had this week, and I had to do some research to see if past creative people have thought the same thing, because that does sound kind of stupid, doesn't it? You're not supposed to think about your idea before you have it. So I guess that kind of follows the idea that you wait for inspiration. But I don't want to say that. But at the same time, I do. So I had that shower thought, and I wanted to see if past creative people, masters, I guess you'd say, have had the same sentiment, shared the same sentiment. So I go through YouTube, obviously, and I check out some videos, and one really stuck out to me. It started with a poem by an author that I've never heard of, named Charles Bukowski. Maybe I should read up on him because I like this poem a lot. It's odd because the whole video is kind of discounting this poem and saying, Bukowski's wrong, do this. But I agree with the video entirely, and I agree with Bukowski entirely, because I think that they're both intertwined. But Bukowski says it in a way that is not so easily listenable, so easily accessible. So let's start there. Let's start with Bukowski's poem. So this is about creativity and, I guess, the muse for a creative venture. If it doesn't come bursting out of you in spite of everything, don't do it. Unless it comes unasked out of your heart, your mind, your mouth, and your gut, don't do it. If you have to stay up for hours staring at your computer screen or hunched over your typewriter searching for words, don't do it. If it's hard work just thinking about it, don't do it. Unless it comes out of your soul like a rocket, unless being still would drive you to madness or suicide or murder, don't do it. When it's truly time, if you've been chosen, it will do it by itself. And then it will keep on doing it until you die. Or it dies in you. There's no other way, and there never was. Now, the video that I watched says Bukowski's wrong because he's saying wait for inspiration. The video echoes the sentiment that if you're creative, you sit down and you do your work. You sit down in front of that blank page if you're a writer, and you do that struggle of filling it. And then through that process, inspiration will come. I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. But I also think Bukowski's saying the same thing. The quote that really sticks out to me is, unless being still would drive you to madness or suicide or murder. Unless avoiding, procrastinating, and doing all the side stuff that keeps you away from the creative process that you really should be doing, or you feel you should be doing, if you don't have that tremendous sense of guilt from avoiding what you know you should be doing, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, right? He says there's plenty of reasons why not to do your creative thing. If it's not bursting out of you, don't do it. If it doesn't come unasked and just and a moment of inspiration, don't do it. If you have to stay up staring at the screen thinking about what to write, don't do it. Right? All of these reasons not to do a creative thing. Really, the one reason why he says to do it is if not making your creative thing, if it's not painting, if it's not making music, if it's not writing a story, or any other creative thing you could be doing or that drives you. If not doing it could lead you to madness, that's your one reason to do it. If avoiding it is avoiding and suppressing your spirit, well, there's your reason to do it. Now, for me, that's not waiting for inspiration. To me, I don't interpret Pekowski at all by saying, well, sit back, relax, pull your lazy boy up, and wait until something hits you. That's not what he's saying. Pekowski's telling us, if you can sit back on your lazy boy without any worry in the world before you've done any of your work for the day, well, maybe creativity and that creative thing that you feel driven by, maybe it's not as strong a drive as you thought. And I think that's realistic and true. Because sure, everyone's creative, but people are more creative, people are less creative, and if you don't have the drive to pursue your ideas, those amorphous things that are sitting in your brain and pop out of nowhere, if you don't have the drive to pursue it and put in the hours and clock in, just like the video is telling you, sit down and do your work, put yourself in front of that blank page until you fill it up. If you don't have the drive to do that, even in moments of a lack of inspiration, if not sitting in front of that blank page would cause you to go crazy, would cause you just your mind to spin and twirl into a tornado of darkness, if avoidance is unacceptable in your mind, well then, there's your reason to make your art. There's your reason to create. Otherwise, everything else is kind of just BS. If wasting your time is still an option, well, I can't say that. I waste my time all the time. If you allow yourself to guiltlessly waste your time consistently, then maybe you don't care too much about your creative thing. If you really care about it, then you'll be like, okay, I gotta sit down and do my stuff, even when you don't want to. John Mayer just had a post on his Instagram story that says, if you're really songwriting and you're being honest, it's gonna feel like math homework. And I think that's just a nice parallel, because, you know, when you get into I remember this, and I was a terrible math student. Terrible. But I remember when I got into the flow and I actually understood what the math was, and I had to do the homework, you know, a couple of questions in, I'd start enjoying the work. Because you'd just be doing the process, you feel like a machine. Because you know what to do, you see the next question, you're like, okay, I know what to do, and you flow through it. But starting is a drag. And with songwriting, after you birth an idea, you're gonna hit points where it's like, I don't really feel, I'm not in the mood for that song today. Or, it's good enough the way it is, even though you know that some of the lyrics could be tweaked and need to be tweaked for it to actually make sense. Or to be relevant and honest to you. So you need to sit down and do the work, just like the video essayist says. But also at the same time, you're sitting down to do the work not to mechanically get your work done. You're sitting down to do the work to cultivate and to spur on an inspiration. Again. Well, for one thing, my process goes this way, in a brief statement. Throughout my day, I have these thoughts, and if one clicks and rings true in like a kind of a universal way, small idea, what would be an example? An example, first thing that comes to my head is don't rely on your image to show your confidence. Rely on how you feel to show your confidence. So if I feel confident, if I'm walking in a smooth way, if my face is relaxed, I'll be more confident than if I'm looking in every car mirror reflection to see if my hair looks good. So like that is a nugget of truth for me. I feel like that is true. Don't rely on your image for your confidence. Feel your confidence in your relaxation, in your motion. So a thought like that could stem into an idea. If I really like the thought, when I get to a guitar, I'll try to put something around it. Sometime throughout the day, if I'm really thinking about it, a melody will start to fill in with some words. But that's generally my method. But when I sit down to write a song, that song will be finished that day. It'll be finished in a rough sense. There'll be a verse, there'll be a chorus, there'll be a bridge. And I'll go through it and record it on my phone so I can listen to it later. Now, then, once I do that, once I clock in those hours, and that happens often enough, probably like once every 2 weeks, something like that, where I have a backlog of song ideas that there's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of hours to clock in and clock out, whether it's creating a demo in Ableton, or if it's rewriting lyrics, or if it's just conceptualizing instrumentation, or learning how to actually produce your music and mix your music, which is a whole different skill and thing to master, because that is a deep dive when you're doing music production. Wow. There's so much each song idea entails that there's always something to do. There's always work to be done. So there is that element of clocking in and clocking out. But once I have an idea, once it's generated through the everyday experience that I have, then I'll sit down and I'll write the song. It could take 2.5 hours. It could take 45 minutes to write the song in its original state on a guitar, singing, writing down a scratchy page of lyrics. Once I have that foundation, then I can go into thinking mode. Then I can be in the shower and not conceptualizing some song idea that is completely nowhere, that is not, I've not done any work on yet. Now I can go in the shower and I can think about how can I fit these lyrics into the actual core idea that I'm getting at. How can I be more concise in my language? Or how can I how the instrument's going to play in, or just if some sounds come to my mind about what instruments there will be, what the presence will be. Once I have a basic idea, then I can start thinking. Going back to my original shower thought, thinking about what to write about is a bad idea to start songwriting. To start, right? After you start, then you can think about it. But you need to start from this core place. And that may be that you're starting from, that may be that you wait for inspiration, or go out and do stuff in your life, and then inspiration will come. But in the interim, between each inspiration, there's so much work to be done if you're making music. If you are making music and you write songs, well, now it's time for you to learn how to produce music. Get GarageBand, get Fruity Loops, get Ableton, get whatever DAW you're going to use. Get a $100 interface off Amazon and get to it. You have so much to do. Learn how to produce. That's going to take you years. It's fun. It's frustrating. It's rewarding. But say you have 2 songs written and you like them. 2 songs that you like. But you're waiting for the third one so that you can have 3 songs. While you're waiting for the third one, if you really are creative, unless being still would drive you to madness or suicide or murder, if you're that driven to be creative, but you're still waiting for an honest inspiration, now you have a great opportunity and a great window to sharpen your skills and learn how to produce music. Learn how to produce music so you can get your ideas out of your head, put them on SoundCloud or whatever, YouTube, so that people can now hear what your ideas sound like. And then eventually a new idea will come. And then you do the same process over again. But don't wait for inspiration. I agree. Don't wait for inspiration. If you're going to sit around just writing songs so you can impress people, well, maybe that's not why you should be writing songs. Maybe you're looking at the wrong inspiration. Or maybe you're not that creative. Face the facts. But if you can't control it, if you turn on the Xbox and you start playing FIFA, well, this is me, and you start playing FIFA, and you can fully focus into FIFA for an hour and a half, 2 hours, before doing anything productive in your day, well, maybe you're not that creative. Maybe your drive doesn't match your creativity. That's key. And I think Bukowski's saying that directly. Unless being still would drive you to madness, don't do it. That's pretty important. Now, what is doing it? Well, I think that today we're living in a world where if you're from the United States, I can speak pretty certainly, especially from the Northeast in the United States. It's a very hectic, ambitious part of the country. And going to school around here and just being indoctrinated in the culture. Ambition is really the end goal. You need to be successful. But we also have a very big ADD kind of a society where we grew up and we could divert our attention to a million different things at once. And that can be dangerous, right? If you don't have any focus on what you're doing. But that yields us a brilliant ceiling. Our ceiling has been lifted so much from previous generations because I can sit in this studio box. I can make a video. I can edit the video on my computer. And I'm editing all of this supporting music that I make in this studio box with stuff that really wasn't that expensive. I got this guitar at a yard sale for $30. You can get a microphone, a good microphone to record your voice for music. You can get that for under $100 easily. You can get a computer for under $1,000 that'll be able to process all your music and your video content. We have opportunities today to take our ADD kind of background, because no matter who you are, if you're growing up in the Northeast of the United States, if you went to school in the Northeast of the United States, you're able to multitask to a degree. You're growing up in this hyper-ambitious place where the goal we've been fed at least, is financial freedom and following your heart and following your dreams, right? The millennial thing is that we can't stick to a job because we always want to, is it really following my heart? Maybe I have to go in this direction, I have to go in this direction, I have to go in this direction. That's not bad. But that means that if you're a creative person, your job is harder than it has been in years past. But your job is attainable and accessible. Because if you're making music, well, you're also going to be making videos to support your music. And if you're not making videos to support your music, you're making a mistake. If you're making art, you're going to make an Instagram and you're going to support it by contacting and networking, and you should also be making videos. If you're making music, you need to learn how to produce music, which is such a complex journey for you to go on that requires college-level immersion into a topic of audio engineering. But you can do that if you get a Mac. It comes with your computer. You get GarageBand. It comes right with it. Great program. And you can learn production on it. So our job as creative people today is to do it all. If you have inspiration that will drive you mad if you avoid it, well, guess what? You get to create the music. And you also get to create the video content that goes with it. And you also get to do the marketing that goes with it. It's your job. We're living in a hyper ambitious place. We have this ability. We call it ADD, but you have an ability to change your focus and be broad in your vision. Great. Use it. Use it in your creation. If you're not, you're making a mistake. The song that I'm talking about today and this week, and you can see in the idea to demo, it's a song that's been bumping around my head for a while. I've actually been performing it for a few months at open mics, but I flipped it around and I took the words and I switched them up to fit how I am right now. The words I've been performing for months have really been filler, and this week something hit me, sat down, flipped it around, and so now it's just going on a different track. So you'll hear that in the idea to demo. All in all, thinking about what to write about before you start, it's not how you should do it. Are you a musician looking for content geared towards your creative process? Subscribe to see ideas transform into demos and discussion on the varying topics that go into that. Leave a comment with your theories, tips, and superstitions on songwriting. And have you heard the word Sonder?